Hey, welcome back. This is the third in our series of videos on producing the snap clone. Um, and of course, is based upon the Udemy class that I took. However, of course, I'm replacing the Firebase with the Entity Framework Core. And this third one, we'll look at a little more detail on how I actually get the snaps, and particularly in how I use, instead of using Firebase, I'm using my user object. My user object will contain a list of snaps. And so, again, just in review, when we look at, I just took an extended, and I think this was in my other video, but if we take a look at our models, or actually it's under data, um, and we see our users. What I did is I extended identity user, and I just added this list of snaps. So it's this list of snaps that our foreign key relationship in our database between the snaps and the users is we will when we make the query for the user we will also bring along our snaps. And the way this works is let's go back to our value controller here, and we will hit the login button. We're logged in as Bill. We hit the login, and we're now in my login code in my C# code. So let's execute our query. Now, I slightly changed our query. I didn't like the way I did it in the other video. I'm now doing an include. And this, so when I get the user, I will explicitly include the snaps. And then I will create this user object. So we execute and we look at my user. My user in this case is, again, it's that extended user class, and it's got all kinds of stuff in here that comes with the identity framework a lot, which we did not want. And we look down here and we say, oh, there's our snaps, and we've got one snap. And if we look here, I will take a look in here and I'll show you the we've got one snap return. The snaps array has a kind of one or list, and the snaps will look like um, it's from Fred, and this is a photo ID. This is the ID of the photo that we will display it in our snap. This was previously saved in our database by another call, which we will soon look at. But now we don't want to return all that information back to our client. So if there was, we check if our user was correctly retrieved. If it was, we're going to massage it into a DTO or to a user data object, and we do this right here. So this DTO will contain the name, and just the name from the identity user, and of course our snaps. And this is what we return over then to our caller. One of the things just I wanted to point out is that I must admit I did run into some problems here with the working with this relationship between our snaps and our user. The issue here is in trying to get this foreign key relationship or relationship established between our snaps and our derived our my user, which is derived from the identity user. And I had a slight issue here, and I tried using this foreign key, and there is, of course, there was on the .NET Core. I found some articles on these relationships. And this method here I tried, but it didn't work. And so I finally went back and I went back and I used, if we look at our context, Well, see, I'm using here the Fluent API. And so as opposed to discovering the relationship, I'm specifying it here. And here I've got a one-to-many relationship between user and snaps. And so a user has many snaps with one user. And this solved my problem, so I was able to use the include. Um, Not really quite positive why this is, but I did find things on the internet, on particular on the internet, in that alluded to the fact there may be some problems here with the .NET Core. So, anyways, this worked, and but then I still had some issues that my call was failing when it was returning my JSON back to my iOS application. And the reason was, I think it's really clear here, is that when I'm serializing, notice that I have my user is is a property on the snap. So whenever I serialize snap, I was including my user, and of course, or into some weird circular references there. But the easy way is just to tell the JSON serializer to ignore this, and then things work fine. So that we ran when I ran the application, and let's just go back here to I was going to log out, and I hit my login button, and so now we're at the breakpoint we're at the breakpoint in my Xcode, and if we look at the let's see, the status should be 200, yeah, and there we have, and we then decode the JSON, and we look at our result, see if it's success. If it is, then we'll just on the main queue show our message. So if we run this let me see, we should see, yeah. So now we're in our belt. So we see we have one we have one snap from Fred, and then if we for Bill's got one snap. So, and if we click on this, then we should see the result, and there it is. Now, this will be the next thing we will look at, is how we get these images into our entity framework database and retrieve them. So again, I'm not going to drill down on the specifics of the application, just how, again, it's the interaction between our Snap iOS application and the entity framework. So the next thing we will look at, we'll log in here, run to, of course, I left my breakpoint. Let's just pass it. Now, Fred, there is one snap. Let's create a new snap. And so we hit the plus key, and here I can select an image that we can send to our entity framework database. So we just choose one, and we give a name. And if we we should hit a breakpoint here where we'll be saving this image in our SQLite database. And I'm using, with the .NET Core, there's this iForm file that I'm using, and this file will continue. I want to convert this file into a memory stream. So I create my memory stream. I copy the bits from my file object into the memory stream, and then I extract my GUID, because I pass this in as my file name, and I just want to remove that JPEG part there, and then I create my new image object, and this will have just the GUID. This is how I identify this snap image, and the image itself. which we have created, we have converted to this byte array. And this is what we want to save in our database. So now we just add it to our data context and do our save changes, and the image is now in our database. So if we take and we look at this, we will see just under messages, we open this, browse this table. Of course, there's multiple here, but so we will have the GUID, and these are the byte array that makes up the image itself. So let's just look briefly at how I retrieve images from my database. In Xcode, in my Snap controller, again, this is different from the way the Udemy project did it, because I'm using .NET. And I'm going to make this call into get image, and using my data task, and then I'll look at the results here in my closure. And now if we look at our code in the Visual Studio method here, I'm going to pass in that GUID. I just create my response object. Then I find the image in my message and table, which corresponds to this GUID, and then use that to create this memory stream. And from the corresponding memory stream, I want to extract this byte array. And the byte array is what I will return to the caller through this .NET Core file object. And then I will set the image type to JPEG. And so if we then look over to the Xcode, what I do is when this completes, I look at my response, make sure it's a 200, the MIME type, that it's image, and then I just use the data which will be set here will be those image bytes, and I just take and set the corresponding outlet. So then we see the image that are for the snap in our application. So in the simulator, our snap photo looks like this, and I just want to add that this of course these videos are for my purposes mostly, so that I can remember things if I have to go back and do these things, because there's a fair amount of information here on the interplay between the .NET world and iOS. And if somebody else finds this helpful, then I think that'd be great.